Hello and welcome to Console Shock, episode 83, retro and modern gaming chat with me, Trev and Stu. How you doing, Stu?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. I've completely recovered from the last podcast when I was moaning about having my injection and my jab. Yeah, so I was feeling a bit under the weather.
That's good to
know.
It
took about a week to get well from that.
I mean, all the swelling's gone down, isn't it?
All the swelling's gone down. I mean, the joke is we filmed yesterday, or the last one yesterday, so I feel a little bit better now. And but I did feel a little bit ropey yesterday morning after my vaccine. So
everybody get vaccinated. Don't listen to this man with his talking about.
Yeah, no, you still got to do it. You still got to get vaccinated, but you may feel a little bit groggy for a few hours. But
don't worry,
get it done.
It's all good. I very nearly called this episode 82 because we only just did episode 82, and I've named this recording episode 82, but it's definitely episode 83, which is actually crazy because you know what? It hasn't really registered with the amount of episodes until we got to probably episode 80. I don't know what it is, but I remember we did a big thing about 50 when we had slopes on. Yeah, I was like, wow, we've done 50, and it just became they kind of just all blurred from that point. I wasn't really paying attention to the number except from announcing it and putting it on the teaser.
Yeah, some people from podcasts when they do them, they go, "Oh, do you remember on episode 42 we had? Oh, do you remember that thing we said on episode 33?
I don't keep track.
Do you remember that episode 147 when we talked about this?" And I'm like,
"Yeah,
how do you remember that?" Honestly, obviously I know the guests we've had on. And I can recall conversations and things like that, but I'm terrible at. I can never believe people. I think they plan these things.
No, I don't. I don't keep a running track of everything. I mean, sometimes I literally have to go back and look at our channel to see. Oh yeah, that was when we had that person on or something.
You're terrible, Trev. You're like, oh yeah. We had this person on last month. And,
we do a podcast, don't we? I remember we did a podcast, things like that.
Wasn't you on last week? And no, 3 years ago. Oh, that was it, yeah.
Well, I'm not going to ask, if you played anything. I suppose you've been nursing, your slightly fluiness.
I did a bit more of Borderlands, but I'm going to act like
cool.
It's 2 weeks later. So, yeah, I've completed Borderlands now. And I started playing... what have I started playing?
5 or something.
Resident Evil, new Resident Evil. I started playing that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that works.
I haven't,
I did. I mentioned Zelda. I've been playing Ocarina and just Ocarina and Wind Waker. But I was after we recorded yesterday. It was fairly early in the day. I thought I could play something else. But so a weird thing has happened where Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion has become like a FIFA thing. Which is I can't be bothered to remember the controls of some new game I've started playing. I could just dive into that and I could just pick up where I left off and just chill out, and I haven't got to really try very hard. So I played that for about literally 3 hours, and I was just on my last save was where I had to make a painting fall on someone's head while hiding in a room, and I had to not kill the person's guard. And to do that, I had to I did it, and then the person's guard saw that it was me and then started running after me, but I couldn't kill him. So I had to go all the way back to the person that gave me the mission with this person just chasing me from behind for the whole way, but not catching up to me. I couldn't kill him. So I just let him follow me all the way back to the main bit. And eventually I had to do it several times because he would start fights with guards and the guards would kill him and I'd fail the mission. So I had to take a very weird track to get back to the the mission marker, and I got back to it and I managed to do it after about the third attempt. That was how exciting my evening was. I got an achievement. There was some weird achievement I unlocked for it, but so I guess it was worth it. Got 10G for that sort of nonsense.
Oh, nice.
So that's 3 hours for 10G. It's worth it.
It's worth it.
I did mention if you want a real good one for that, FIFA 06 on 360, 4 hours. You can get 500G. You just have to do the single player campaign. Takes about 4 hours. Play as Brazil. Put the difficulty down to like idiot difficulty, and you'll get literally 500G in one go. It's that and the Avatar. Is it the Avatar game? Isn't
Avatar
it?
game. Yeah. 2 seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
10 seconds to get that one. Hit B a lot.
I haven't done it. I haven't done it.
Have you not done it?
No. Isn't it really? It's really expensive, isn't it? That game because of that. People go nuts buying it on CEX.
We'll get on with the main body of the podcast, but I'll quickly mention it. When I had my video game shop, people used to bring in their hard drive, and for £2.50, I put on that game, and I just hit B, and I get 1,000 points. And I must have done it 100 times. It was brilliant.
I should have done that. I need to. It's a badge of honor seeing that in your list of achievements, isn't it?
Mine's on there. Yeah. I've done it.
Well, as Stu said, we aren't going to talk about achievements because that'd be probably quite boring. So we do have a real thing we're going to talk about. The great thing is as well about this, we are bringing on a former guest that we had on a little while ago now, actually, but we were in the mood to talk about video game magazines. We've done it a couple of times in recent sort of years. We had Miss Mad Lemon on about a year ago, I think. Now we talked about Amiga magazines, but today we're going to cover just the general world of sort of magazine collecting nowadays, as well as old magazines we've got fond memories of, and we're welcoming back Paul from Maximum Power Up. Thanks for joining us again, Paul.
Oh, thank you for having me again. Like we said just before we started recording, I was thinking, it's only about a year ago. And then you guys said, no, it was 2 years ago. And then obviously with everything going on in the world, you just go, oh, yeah, the lost year,
Exactly. Yeah. It just blew through without really any kind of enjoyable moments. So it didn't register really, did it, 2020? And after 2021, it's nuts.
It's crazy, and when we're recording this, we're getting towards June 2021. So it always takes me a minute just to make sure I'm talking about the right year. I'm going crazy,
No, I don't blame you.
Hopefully next year we're not just going, such a year, it's like, oh God, what do you do then? Nothing again. So I'm just hoping at some point we might be able to get to some sort of event. I'm missing seeing people at events. I really, really am. I'm missing seeing friends that I've made. Because I'm sure you guys have said it, and looking at some of your past guests, there is a good community out there,
absolutely,
of a few people who aren't as nice, but like when you go on social media, but there's a lot of people that I've made good friends with, and it's hopefully as things settle, hopefully a bit more, we can get to places. But anyway, not to talk about that. And I'm glad that you're feeling better, Stuart. I had my first jab last week, and then didn't have to go into. Well, I didn't go into work on Saturday because I felt absolutely knackered. It's like
it hit you as well.
I didn't feel sick. I just felt absolutely hungover, but I didn't even have the booze. So where's the fun in that?
No, the show for it.
Exactly. Just basically woke up on the couch, because I could hardly sleep, and just going, oh God, I'm knackered. I'm not going to come in. But luckily, because my boss had had his recently, he goes, totally understand. So I was like, excellent.
Nice one.
But anyway.
I've got mine booked as well, so I booked it on a Friday. So hopefully, whatever it hits me with, I'll be. I can just cover myself in a duvet and just lay on the sofa for the rest of the day. I'll do that if it doesn't do anything to me, to be honest. So
you've got the
plan. Exactly. So one thing we have been able to continue to do is obviously read magazines. And we know that you're rather fond of video game magazines. I mean, we've talked before, me and Stu, about how we've kind of tentatively thought about collecting them, but we have sort of issues with they're a pain to get to. If you're buying a big bundle, they cost a lot to get posted to you. They take up a lot of space. They're heavy as all get out. And I think we both live in fairly smallish sort of places, so we haven't got a nice little place we can stash them all. So we've got sort of struggles with justifying it, even though deep down, if we could, I'm sure we would absolutely go to town on it. But you do sort of actively collect magazines. So I mean, when did you start doing that? Is it recently, or have you always kind of done that?
Well, this is much to my wife's annoyance, really, that now it's been almost a decade of collecting again. I know. I can't think back fully, what I covered on, last time I was on. But I look back, and in the last year, the magazine collecting is it's grown again quite a lot, because when I started collecting in 2012, it's just when I started collecting Super Nintendo stuff, and then that branched out into going, right, well, I want to get certain magazines that I remembered as a kid. And I know that I've said this before, you know, like when on Maximum Power Up to guests and stuff that we've had, but I see it as quite a big part of retro gaming, you know, collecting, because it's really good to have physical magazine where space allows in your hands, taking you back to, you know, March 1993, or like I've been looking for a few Super Nintendo ones the last few days, and when you get to around September 93, it's all about Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Oh yeah.
So like, you know, this was like, you know, a massive sort of like beat 'em up fight, as to put it, between these two games. So all the magazines were always like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And you think back to being a kid, there's no way you'd afford to really get both games. And even now, you know, the price of retro keeps rising all the time.
Probably get one of them sometimes.
It's not that cheap, you know, but it's just like what you just said then about the cost of the magazines and also the weight. They're both valid points. I have got like tips and places, you know, you can have a look at. God, I sound like an agony aunt or something, but there are like tips and places that, you know, there's like a great Facebook group, Retro Gaming Magazines, which I'm on there, as well as
I've been on that one.
Fellow collectors. And this only got set up about a year ago, and now there's about 1,200 different members from around the world. So you get people selling the American titles, something that I don't collect and don't really get involved with because I've got to draw the line somewhere. But then you get people like a bit of a cheap pop for him, but Mark Jowett from Sega Mags, he's trying to collect all the UK Sega magazines, you know.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Every single one. He only needs like, I'm sure it's about 20 magazines, because there's certain titles that were done by Maverick Magazines, another publisher, and they bought up a lot of ex-Future publishing magazines, and they ran them down a hell of a lot to, you know, 16 pages, some of them.
They got really bad near the end.
And like late last year, we had John Davison on, who's VP at IGN in America, and he used to work for Maverick, so he shed a bit of light on things, which was great to hear, because he said like the whole idea for Maverick was buying up these magazines cheap, running them as, well, basically pamphlets, but the main focus was on a couple of like flagship titles that Maverick did, which eventually went under as well. And hopefully one day I do want to try and get, you know, the inside story from the main guy, Hugh Gollner, or Hugh Fulljames as it is now. So he's still like, you know, on my wish list.
I mean, I think you had Steve Jarrett on, didn't you, on Maximum Power Up? And, are they bothered about, like, do they try and get these magazines back? I mean, they worked on them, so their perspective is probably a lot different to us, you know, as fans.
Not many of them do, you know. I'd say, as it stands, I mean, like I said, I've touched upon before we started recording, we've been so busy with other things going on, we've not really had much content out for the last month and a half. Hopefully something's coming soon. We've got Keith Stewart coming up, who's a Guardian writer and author.
Oh wow.
And he started out on Edge. I mean, this is what I recorded a couple of months ago. And Keith's told some really good stories, but there's only, out of the 42 guests I've interviewed, I'd probably say there's about 5, maybe 6 who've kept magazines. About a year and a half ago, we lost Jason Brooks, ex Edge editor and Superplay writer, and you know, like we spoke quite a bit. You know, he sadly passed at the end of 2019, but he still had a lot of his collection at his parents', and there's a few other people who've, you know, kept certain magazines. We had Paul Glancy on, ex CVG, Megatech, and a few others. And this must have been it must have been about March last year, because he put a tweet up with this basket full of magazines. He goes, I just dug these out, from my past. And then Paul Davis, who also worked on CVG and Nintendo Magazine System, and he's like, he was editor of like CVG's most popular era, like 96 to I think 98. So that sort of like
I've got a few
Saturn
issues from
PS1.
that. Yeah, that was a great era. Yeah.
Well, they got talking. It was a bit cheeky. I just went, if you guys want to come on and chat magazines, let's just do it. So we went, yeah, okay. So this was an episode last year that we called Better Call Paul's, because it was me, Paul Glancy, and also Paul Davis. So that was fun to record with 3 Pauls. But we recorded all together for it was about 3.5 hours. After editing it down, it was about 2.5. We did take a bit out, but yeah, it's good to see. I love it when I see that a writer's kept the work. I think it's so important. And as the time goes on, these magazines are getting harder to get. They're going to get more damaged if they're not looked after. You don't know who's got a certain copy of something that could be upstairs in the loft or anything like that. Just it's nothing to do with magazines, but someone on a Facebook group that I'm on said, my mate's parents asked if I'd help him clear out the loft. I don't know where their son was, but anyway, so this person went, so I helped him, and they gave him what was in the loft, a box Super Nintendo and this Hulk Hogan weight set, from licensed. So you never know if there's going to be other people out there, with these things like, hidden away, because a lot of times people just go, magazines not really worth anything. Some magazines are worth a lot, some of them just not worth anything. Like you say, sometimes you see them on eBay and it's like 15 quid an issue, and it's really not worth that. We saw it was a copy of N64 magazine that someone was trying to sell for about 200 quid, and then it kept dropping again and again and again and again, and it was worth probably about 5 or 6. Later
that is one that people do go nuts on, isn't it? Is N64?
Because you've got it's like me and Superplay. You've got like the diehard fans, anything like the Will Overton artwork and everything like that. Superplay, I've been lucky with that because I still had a full set from when I collected my retro back in the early noughties. I picked up the whole set for, I think it was about 30 quid from a place in Burnley. So I remember going over on the train, meeting this person in Burnley at the train station with my rucksack, filled it full of Superplays, and off I went. And now some of the final issues can sell for 25, 30 quid. You
did well there.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because I came that close. Like, I brought them from my mum's back here just before I started collecting retro again. But it's because I was looking through these. So this was back in 2011. And I just got married. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm absolutely loving this. I was like, sod it, I'm going to get myself a SNES. So I did, in 2012. And then it just built from there. So, at that time, this was, probably start of 2013. I was getting stuff like, I got issue 1 of Edge for 1p. Issue 1 of Mean Machines. Well, it was basically issues 1 to 5 of Mean Machine Sega for 1p each.
They're big ones. They're like the big guns, aren't they? Edge and Mean Machines,
It's years ago. I mean, someone bought, it was issue 0 of Edge, which is really, really rare. But that sold for, I think it was about between 550 to 600 quid.
Was that the first edition of Edge?
Well, it was issue 0. Basically, it went out, for preview issue, because it's rocking our shit, basically. Sorry, I shouldn't swear on a guest show.
No, swear.
But yeah, it's just, it's crazy, because you don't see that many of them. Because obviously, there'll have been a few knocking about these, sampler issues.
Was that actually in the newsagents? Newsagents?
I don't know. I don't know if it ever came with a magazine, because sometimes you get samplers that come with things. So, one of the ones that I love was Games X. That came out it only lasted a year, 48 weekly issues. That came out in 91. And if you bought Amiga Action or ST Action, you got a copy of it.
Yeah,
because it was done by Europress. Now, I don't know if that happened with Edge. I mean, it probably went out to, like a few games companies and stuff, but I don't recall. I used to buy a lot of magazines back then, like nearly every single one, even for systems that didn't have, like back in '93. So this sampler must have been around June or July '93, because the cover date for issue 1 of Edge is August '93. Steve Jarrett again being the launch editor, and then it went on to Jason Brooks, and then in that time you had Keith Stewart join. We met to see it's all linking together. This is why I love interviewing people for a podcast, because I love this interconnecting family tree of guests and stuff. Anyway, you asked me one quick question, and
that's what
we want. That's what we want. It's funny because I remember the last magazine that I bought religiously, literally the last one, was Macworld, literally like for the Apple Mac magazine, and that was in for about nearly 4 years. I bought it every month in the mid 2000s, and it's no longer a print magazine; it's digital only now. So and then ironically, when I started working for Apple, I worked in the Apple Store for a few years. There's a whole episode me and Stu did on working in retail. So if you want to hear about that, you can go.
I'm going to go back and listen to that, because for someone who's spent almost 20 years, 22 years in retail and customer service, I can
there we go.
Yeah.
You can relate to some of that.
Yeah. Definite.
So I guess I kind of felt I didn't need to really read a magazine about all this stuff, because I'll be surrounded by it on like a daily basis. I stopped getting it, but I've still got all those issues. I've got like 4 years worth, like nearly 50 of them, and I kept them. And weirdly, like since lockdown, I got a craving to I've just got something to read on my lunch breaks at work. If I'm not going out for a walk on my lunch break, I want to be able to do something. You can't do, I don't really want to start playing a game for an hour, because you've got to stop quite abruptly if you need to jump back on to do your work. So I thought, I'll grab a magazine, and then I could probably read it on my lunch break, and I'll be able to get through one. So I started getting Mac Format, which is one of the very last of the Format magazines.
I was just about to say that,
it's that. Still a print magazine, Mac Format. And the other one is, there's another one, Linux Format.
Yeah, Linux. Someone mentioned this recently. It's crazy, because like the Format series has got such long lineage. Oh God, I can't even speak.
Lineage,
going back to more or less the start of a future,
I think it'd be ST Amiga Format.
It was Commodore Format before that.
No, that was later.
You had ST Amiga Format, and then obviously that split. It's crazy, because even we've talked about this quite a bit, especially now with Amiga Addict, cheap plug. But with Amiga Format, that was a magazine that went on to year 2000, which is absolutely crazy.
It is.
And when you mention things like Mac Format, I'll be honest, it's not the type of thing I'd go for. Like a more serious magazine. But in regards to the print magazines out there, something that I really do bang the drum for.
That's basically it. That's all you got.
Well, I know you got like Retro Gamer and stuff, but you go into WH Smith's, and it's just so different. I say this all the time. I really do sound like an old man, but it's because, oh God, Christ, now I do sound like an old man. But honest to God, if you were there, if you were like, a kid or a teenager,
it was exciting to get a mag.
Yes, because again, it wasn't all about the internet. You wanted to see what was, screenshots of things like that. I mean, to be fair, I don't actually read that much game news on the internet. It's not like I go onto game sites every single day. It's, I don't know. I don't even know how to find out about some things then, because when
they pop up on Facebook and Twitter and someone shares them.
Exactly. It's of course. Yeah, God, half asleep there. But no, it's just it's nice that there's still something holding that Format name.
It's funny actually, because I remember in my spell of buying Macworld, because that was I used to like. I mean, I was in my 20s. I wasn't a little kid or anything. It was just the Macintosh is a platform I'm quite passionate about, like I was about the Amiga. Still am to this day. So I love getting a magazine. But there'd been the Macintosh market was way smaller in the mid 2000s. You felt kind of like you were the only person that had one, really. I remember I had a Mac, and I was the only person at uni that had one. I used to get the mick taken out of me for it. Now everybody in a Starbucks has like a MacBook. So to me, I'm like, oh, look at all these Johnny come latelys. It was like being an Amiga fan, in a weird way.
Trev,
much
did
more
they always
expensive.
used to say you had a dirty Mac?
Yeah, there was that as well.
There's Trev with his dirty Mac.
A dirty Mac. But I remember, ironically, I would dip into some of the other Mac mags that were out at the time as well. And so Mac was the one I would always get, absolutely non-stop. But I tried, like, there was a few on the market in those days. Again, they've been decimated now, but there was Mac User. That was a great one as well. That's finished, also completely finished, not even a digital version now. But I remember I picked up one issue of Mac Format in about 2006, and I read it and I thought it was crap. And I thought, this is rubbish compared to Macworld. And now it's the only one left if you want a print magazine. It's good now. They've got the market to themselves if you want to buy a print mag. And you're interested in Apple products,
It comes down to the writers as well, because again, I know I'm just throwing so much stuff out, but there's sorry, so pop up. Basically, there's the PC Zone Lives podcast, done by their ex-editor Richie Shoemaker. I do bang on about this one quite a lot, because Richie has the same passion I do for magazines, and he's just started his podcast. He's only a couple of episodes in, but he had on his first issue quite a few guests from each era of PC Zone, and they covered, like how the magazine changed, because some periods were more successful than others, and so what you just said there about the Mac mags. It just comes down to if your staff aren't enjoying it. It sometimes comes down to the publishers, whether or not they actually put money and resources into it. Sorry, this sounds so boring, but
interesting stuff.
Well, you've had things like obviously Future bought so many magazines and ended them as well. It's a funny one because, like, when they bought, obviously, Imagine, Retro Gamer carried on. A few magazines folded years ago when they bought CVG from Dennis. They kept the website going for about another decade, but the magazine ended in 2004 because obviously they already had a multi-format magazine with their own Games Master,
Yes,
So
it's amazing how long that lasted for. Games Master was crazy long. Well after the show.
When that went in 2018, Future ended that, and Games TM as well. And then since then, we've lost official Xbox magazine as well. So, like, even like some of this is more or less from around the last time it was on. And recently,
official PlayStation mag, isn't it? Yeah, when
just about to say, now you have holding up to the camera, not that listeners can see it, but Play, which is
the first issue
relaunched. Basically same staff, same sort of passion, and it has got some really good staff in here as well, some that I do speak to on Twitter, and it didn't really get a goodbye, losing the official license, something which I don't know, is a bit of a shame. I think it's something that may have happened really quickly, because when you looked at the next month page in the last official PlayStation mag, it just said next issue Ratchet and Clank, and the first issue of Play continues with Ratchet and Clank. So they own the Play IP, and Play was obviously a PlayStation magazine that started way back in '95 originally.
I remember it.
By Paragon. And speaking of Games Master as well, Dave Perry was on Play for quite some time. So it's nice to see a return of a PlayStation IP, and I'm glad that there's still a physical magazine out there for PlayStation, because I still feel like every format should be represented buy a print magazine, but then it's easy for me to say because obviously they've got so many, sales targets and things like that, and from what I heard, I'm sure it had fallen to under 10,000 the official Xbox One. And I think that's sort of like the warning signs when it gets under there, for like...
That's the average now, isn't it? Is the 10s-ish, 10K-ish is kind of the average now, isn't it? Which is astonishing.
It's obviously a lot different to how it used to be when you used to see the ABCs in, like Amiga format and things.
Yeah, Amiga format, 500,000 sometimes.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. But then again, remember, this is pre-internet, this is color discs, this is everyone just wanting so much information. It's a different time, but we are looking back like almost 30 years now for some of these magazines. It's crazy, But I think that's why I like being, at early 40s now, experience that,
I think probably, I don't know if Stu would agree with me, but if there was one magazine that I probably would, if like money was no object and space was no object, I probably would go nuts getting all of Amiga format. I've got quite a lot of, well, not a lot, but I've got a few handfuls worth of issues of that I've picked up over the years. I've got, I didn't subscribe, but I had my dad got the newsagent to put away a copy each month in the late 90s. So when it was already on its way down. Like 98, only for about 5 or 6 months, actually, I did that. But I remember also, like, this is not long after I picked up my Amiga in the mid-90s. I remember my local charity shop, someone dumped, like, huge amounts of Amiga format there, and I got my mum to buy them for me, and they were selling them. The charity shop was selling for... I mean, also, this is only a couple of years after these issues were out, so they were worthless, really, at that point. And the Amiga was kind of, again, on its way out, but it was still a thing. So no one was nostalgic about it at this point, really, at all. But and I think they were like 20p or something, and in good nick. And I got a whole load of them, and they've all gone now. I don't know what happened, but I had a whole run. I think I had a whole, 30 or 40 or 50 issues at one point. I've only got the ones that I had from the newsagent I got myself, and in the late 90s, and that was amounts to about 7 or 8 of them, and ones
that's nice. That's nice. Honest to God, the weight on some of those issues,
they were fat old magazines. They really were.
Some of them were like getting on for 300 pages. It's crazy. I had like Marcus Dyson on at the start of the year. He was like editor of Amiga format about 93, 94. And we had a really good chat about the magazine and everything. And since getting back into the Amiga scene for Amiga Addict, it was like I found myself buying quite a few Amiga magazines, not just format, but also action, CU and stuff. And I picked up, it was a 1998 issue. And this was like, I think it's dated like March 98, because I've got it upstairs on site because I've actually been reading it, because I went off the Amiga back in, probably I'd say anything after 96, totally, went by me, because I was into the PlayStation then and PC.
Yeah, it was the same, I think, at that point.
Like in this, you still had the Amiga review of Champ Manager 2, which we gave for 12%. I think it was 12%. It's either 12 or 16%. Whatever it is, it's low.
Oh, really?
And,
I thought that'd be amazing on the Amiga.
No, oh God, it was safe. The loading times are awful. But then also things like there was conversions of Quake on the Amiga.
Oh,
conversions of Doom.
Yeah.
And I've been reading up on this because I'm like trying to fill in the gaps. So I've got like, 4 or 5 years, I'd say from 96 to 2000, 2001, where it's just totally gone past me. So I'm finding it quite interesting looking at the type of games that were coming out, because like in this one issue, bearing in mind it was like for early 98, there were quite a lot of games in it, there was like Myst as well, which surprised me, but you needed more souped up Amigas and things like that. And like
it was kind of expected, I think, that you had everyone had an accelerator then, wasn't it? Which
I think if you're going to do stuff like that, you were probably going to go on to the PC, unless you were obviously so loyal to the Amiga brand and everything like that. But better watch what I say in case I get kicked off the magazine. It's like fly the Amiga flag more. But no, I think, like I say, at the time it was all like I made Pentium 75 still in a 1998, although that was really on its way out by then, although all I played was like Champ Manager, really. So
yeah, we were hitting like Pentium 2 around that sort of 98, 99
yeah,
time.
Yeah, the Pentiums were really, really taking off with better graphics cards and
Yeah.
things like that. I think we may have had some upgrade, but I'm thinking back again quite a few years. Sorry, go on.
That's all right. Well, one funny thing, like we were talking about the size of these mags, pushing 300 pages in the Amiga kind of midnight, like 93, not 92, 93, 94 kind of era before they started chopping it down. And it kind of got hard to justify when you got to 98, when it was like, 80, 90 pages, very thin, still charging $5 for it. I was like, should I get official PlayStation mag, or I get a disc and it's twice as big for 50p less?
Yeah,
probably what happened to me. I think at that point when I started getting PlayStation, official PlayStation magazine. But it's funny now. Like I was talking about Macworld and Mac Format, and Mac User. And I do the same thing. I dig out old magazines, whether it's the copies of Amiga Format I've got, official PlayStation mag, CVG, and also those issues of Macworld, which are the most recent of the quote unquote retro magazines that I've got. Like they're pushing sort of 18, 19 years now, which makes me feel really old. But the funny thing is, I've sort of dig those out, and they were over 100 pages, like 150 odd pages, I think, at that point. And a huge chunk of that would be advertising. And now with Mac Format, it runs at about 106 pages, and there's pretty much zero adverts. All you have, the only ads in it are for the magazine itself. Like, next issue is this, subscribe and win this. So it's amazing how the advertising has absolutely collapsed. I mean, there's no retailers really, certainly not on the Mac scene. It's basically the Apple Store. They're not going to advertise in a Apple sanctioned sort of magazine. And I mean, that's a big factor now, is that stuff has completely gone.
Trevor, have you ever actually sort of gone through it and sort of counted, in 2003, how many pages of editorial content there was then and how many pages of sort of editorial content there is now?
Well, I can give you...
Well, actually, it's about the same, or...
Yeah, I mean, I could give you like one example of, I dug out one of my copies of Macworld from like January 2005 or something. I really enjoyed looking at the ads, because there were some of the old, Macs that I got. I used to have a 12-inch PowerBook G4, and they had the adverts for that. And I was like, God, it costs that much. I like blew my student loan like on that completely, and basically lived off tins of beans. And thankfully I had a part-time job, which covered my, other expenses. But I blew it on one of them. And there was one retailer called Mac Warehouse. They had literally about eight pages just dedicated to this one place. And I looked them up on the internet. I thought, God, are they around then, or have they gone? And they went bust about 2010, I think. Mac, they had a big, huge like warehouse / showroom in somewhere in London, like Sidcup or something. And in the mid 2000s, they were, pretty good. Also, there wasn't Apple stores, not in the there was one in the UK at that point in London, the one that I ended up working at, ironically. There wasn't really a big market, so they had it to themselves, Mac Warehouse. But yeah, literally, they had an 8-page section in Macworld. Unbroken. You would literally get to this section, and the next 8 pages were just adverts from Mac Warehouse. But it wasn't. But probably at the time you'd flip past them. But now you look back and you think, oh God, look at that device, look at that monitor that they sold. Oh, I remember that one. Now it's really enjoyable. But now, absolutely zilch in Mac Format. Yeah,
it's a funny one though. Like, I've been doing the same roughly with the Amiga formats, and some of the places, obviously they must have spent a lot of money on advertising.
I love the adverts in format, Amiga Format.
Yeah, they've got the market, but back in, well, not just Amiga mags, but when you saw people like Silica. And,
Silica! I love the photos.
Special Reserve,
Silica.
Yeah, Special Reserve, massive. And if you get magazines up to, I think it was about 03, possibly 04, and then that was it, gone more or less. Around then.
Yeah.
And it is weird looking back. But Stuart, like you say, you have a look at, say, a 200-page magazine, and like what I'm trying to think as well, like what Marcus said when I spoke to him about Amiga Format, and he said half the time a third of a mag would more or less be adverts. But as a kid, it never really jumped out that much. Like, but when I bought any American magazines, say I bought EGM, Electronic Gaming Monthly, or Game Pro, I felt like nearly every single page was an advert. And I've always had this, like, you know, issue with them, because I look at them and just go, more bloody adverts, you know. But now when I look back at some of things like Amiga format, you know, these 250 page specials, and you're going, there's like 60, 70 pages of adverts in here. But then, like you said, Stuart, sorry, I finally got to your point. But, you know, when you have a look at a modern magazine and you go, right, well, it's only 100 pages now, but it's still, you know, maybe a dozen, something like that. You know, because the advertising's needed, you know, maybe not so much by Apple, because I can't see them really being that hard up, but even something like let's just think of like Retro Gamer, obviously Future own it, but we've seen that they've ended magazines before, so I'm sure that they obviously allocate so much money to the magazine, bearing in mind I'm only just guessing here, but then, like, you know, there's still adverts, you know, and things like that. And it's a weird one now, because like when we were kids and you'd look at magazines and stuff and they'd go, right, if you subscribe to PlayStation magazine, Amiga magazine, whatever, you got like a free game with 25 to 40 quid. But you'd still be more or less paying more or less full whack for the magazine. Sometimes you got like one free issue. But now, the amount of times I get offers for Edge or, well, Play, like in this Play, it's like, granted, that's issue 1, but it's like 5 issues for 5 quid, you know, as an introductory issue. Same with things like, because they do like My Favorite Magazines is a website that I've just got to say, I'm not being paid by anyone to say this. It's just it's just like, you know, what I see, because I'm always reading them, you know. So you see things like offers where it's like, you know, 6 months for X amount. You have websites like Readly, the app, the Readly app, and you get things like, sorry. So
I was going to bring it up, and you've mentioned it.
Let's talk about virtual mags.
Because I was, I think, Instagram and Facebook, they know me from, you know, what I look at on there. So I always get adverts for Readly, and, you know, I think it's $7.99 a month, and I thought, oh, well, you know, 2 months free or something. And he goes, you can read Retro Gamer magazine, and I think there's a few other video game magazines on there. And I was thinking, oh, shall I use that? Or would that be useful? And I wonder how because I'll look at them. I wouldn't look at them on the PC. I'd look at them on my phone. Potentially next month I'm going back to work, so that'd be really cool to sit there and sort of read magazines, and then I can, you know, justify, or 2 or 3 magazines a month, maybe. Your face is grimacing there, Paul. Go on, look at me your phone.
I remember. No. Because I took out a 2-week trial to it, and oh god, sorry, it's such a boring story. Basically, there was this app where it says if you sign up to such a thing, you get like oh god, it was like these like little rewards. Get 50p in cash. It sounds so weird. You get 50p in cash if you take out a subscription to this. Get £1 if you fill in this survey and stuff like that. God knows how much information I gave away. Anyway, so like one of them was the Readly app. You know, subscribe for £1. And in the month I had it, I think I went on it once, because we have got a tablet and stuff like that, and I can look at things on my laptop as well. But I find it really, really difficult. You know,
it's bizarre.
I prefer
isn't it?
to have it in my hand. You know, it's a funny one. Like the one thing that I do look at on screen quite a bit. There's an account, and you guys, you know, probably quite enjoy this as well. It's called Out of Print Archive. Just trying to think. It's like a guy who runs it. Christ, sorry, this is like really, really, really bad podcasting, and I apologize. But when I've done Out of Print Archive, basically, it's because I wanted to give him proper props. But like when I've had guests on because I've got limited space now for magazines. And like I started when you said, so have you been buying magazines? I was like, yeah, but for 40 minutes now. It's like I've only got so much room. So I've got full sets of certain titles. But for example, say I get on like a PlayStation guest. I'm not going to start collecting full sets of PlayStation magazines. I might buy 1 or 2 issues of, say, I'll use Play as an example. So, like I might buy a couple of old issues, but then someone like, I can't think of his name at the moment, but anyway, the guy behind Out of Print Archive, he's always scanning them. And there's another guy, Zap Mart is called, on some forums. He's been putting up loads of stuff on the Internet Archive. Tons of scans, tons. So
it's really important, I think.
It's so important. It helps me loads. I'll try and shout them out as much as I can, not just right now, but they've helped me so much. You know, like I had on, oh God, who was it? It was Tim Weaver, again, author, and he worked on N64 mag, and then he also did a bit of God, I think it was Endgamer. Was it Endgamer? Anyway, so like, I spoke to the Outprint Archive guys, and they were like, oh yeah, we've got some N64 mags up as scans. You can have early access to him if you want, seeing you're going to be interviewing Tim. I was like, fantastic, because it just helps me research with a guest. Because honest to God, I'll be honest, I'd probably be divorced if I carried on keep buying as many magazines. There's a lot. There really is. Like even yesterday, like another 5 turned up of Super Action. One by
How many have you got? How many have you got? Would you say in your collection generally, like in total?
Probably. I'm just trying to think, because I've moved some to my mum's now, like full sets that I don't usually. Well, that I've covered enough for the podcast. I've moved out of the house because I've not got the space, because since we had baby 2 at the end of last year,
congratulations.
Thank you. Well, like October time. So what was my magazine and games room is now Ella's room. So so a lot of stuff got moved out, everything packed away. But I still have things like magazines that I need to use for the podcast to hand. So altogether, oh Christ. Well, if you think it's like 50 copies more or less of Super Play, 50 Nintendo Magazine System, because that was like the run of just being called Nintendo Magazine System. Well, 53 issues, 53 Mean Machines Sega. I recently completed Mean Machines PlayStation, a little known magazine that only lasted 6 issues before.
Yeah, I picked up 1 issue of that back in the day. I've still got that issue. Yeah, it was one with Goro from Mortal Kombat on the front.
Do you know what as well? That was the last one I needed to complete my set.
Right.
Basically,
we're not getting it.
No. I've got it now. But it was
nice one.
Because I've got it because I've got like the full set of Mean Machines and everything like that. So now I own all the Mean Machines family,
nice one.
Of like standalone magazines.
Yeah.
But then like someone put on because Mark Jowett from Sega Mags, he needed. I think he said he needed issue 1 of Mean Machines PlayStation. I needed issue 2. And someone put issue 1 and 2 together on eBay, like buy it now, a tenner. I was like, yoink, straight on it. I was so happy over this. And when they turned up, I was like, I've completed my collection. I've completed his collection for him. So obviously, and sent it off to where he lives. I was like, oh, fantastic.
Nice one.
Because it's hard when you're looking for that 1 issue to complete the set. Because when I needed to complete my Nintendo Magazine System, it took so long to get issue 26 with Donkey Kong Country on the cover. For some reason, it took absolutely ages. I think I spent about 15 quid on it because I just thought I just want to finish it off. Same with the last issue of Total, issue 58. That now, again, Mark did me a really good deal on that years ago, but now that can sell for like 30 quid. It was like the final issue. But yeah, I think altogether it must be again probably getting towards 1,000, possibly.
Wow.
Are
they just in boxes then in storage? And did you keep a select few that you want to have to hand in a nice bookcase?
Me Super Plays stay here. All my totals have shifted back to my mum's, and same with Me Machine, Sega, and Nintendo Magazine System, and some ST Actions. But here I've got still like me collection of Zeros, Games X. Oh God, what else? Yeah, like a ton of Amiga magazines now since joining Amiga Addict. Like I say, I've just gone absolutely crazy. So I've probably got about 100 Amiga magazines here at the moment. So it's a mixture of titles and eras. Because I like looking back, they give me ideas, and I like reading back to what was going on then. I mean, Stuart, like, did you collect any at all yourself? Or
well, I did. I remember when you mentioned. I mean, my favourite magazine was Mean Machines, and I remember when I was actually disappointed when it split into two, and it went to Nintendo Magazine System, and I was like, well, I've got to buy two magazines now if I want to get the same. Yeah. And I think I bought the first issue of both of them, and I remember they came with sort of transfers for your T-shirt.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. As like a free
classic.
And I remember ironing that on incorrectly, and it was too far down, so it was like right over my belly button. I had like a Street Fighter, so it was completely in the wrong place. But yeah, it was when you talked about earlier on WH Smiths, and part of my routine was on the way home from school. You'll go into WH Smiths, and there'll be 30 or 40, I don't know, not 30, maybe 20 people standing there reading magazines. And it was, you'll read them all because, they're £3-4 quid a pop or whatever they were. And you couldn't, afford all of them. And it was like one that you always bought, and then there was others that you just flick through, and then you read the review, and that was always. But I was terrible. I think I probably sort of kept quite a few of them, but then you just chuck them out because your mum told you to, or things like that, really. And I remember when you mentioned I had the first copy of Edge. I remember them talking really, Edge is this new, and I think you said it came out in 93 or
yeah.
And I think maybe I was a bit too young for it, because I think it sort of felt like, oh no, I want something more fun.
No, I totally get it.
And
it's a grown up. It feels more. Well, it felt more grown up. I mean, I was 13, almost 14 then, and I was like, this is a lot different to Toto or NMS. Where they just talk about fart jokes or whatever, or Sonic's rubbish, or
well, I think I'm about the same age as you, Paul, and I still like the fart jokes, and and I was going to ask you a question now. It's a bit of a sort of silly one, and maybe show me up a little bit, but I remember in Mean Machines there was maybe a 6-month period where there was always 2 or 3 adverts with scantily clad ladies, and that they were sort of showing wrestling games in their bikinis or something. And there was always but buy this game and you get this lady for free or something horrendous.
It's crazy. It's I know exactly which advert you mean, because it was like
there was 2 or 3 of them that I saw a few times.
It's just like it was 2 women, like, and they're just like in like very short T-shirts, really, in like knickers, just knelt up next to the TV, smiling, like just holding a SNES game, and it's a case of like, it's like the Simpsons, the old Simpsons episode where it's sort of like Homer's at a car, I can't remember if we've gone, but it's a case of like, do you come with a car to like this woman? And she's like, you, and it's like, do you come with a car? And every single man's saying that, it's like, do you come with a SNES? Oh, you, and it's just some of the adverts are absolutely awful though. Like I was going through one, and this was for the Game Boy Pocket, and this is Nintendo's advertising, who are known as family friendly. and it's basically it's pointing towards bondage basically, because it's sort of like he's got, I think it's a woman tied to the bed while he's just basically sat playing the Game Boy Pocket. And I was like, bloody hell, you'd never get away with that now. And there's certain ones, and then obviously we said before, CVG went a little bit laddish. It's like when Paul Davis left, a few of the EMAP magazines, especially the PlayStation ones, were just like, I don't know, a games version of Loaded a little bit.
PlayStation Plus was really big on like loads of like adult humor and dick and fart jokes. Especially around 98 time.
I'd say about 98 to probably about 2001. We changed quite a lot. I mean, we still had a lot of magazines back then, because I'd say the internet only really took off for everyone to have it by mid-noughties, really. I know I might be a few years out, but I'd say in 2001 I started trying to do a uni course, and we had like really crappy dial-up and stuff, but then I still remember buying a lot of game magazines, and I'd say by 2010 at a push, that's when you saw a massive drop. You still had a few different publishers, but so many magazines went under around that time. Every year you probably lose 3 or 4, which doesn't sound like loads, but now we've probably got half a dozen on the newsstands. That's including things like, your Mac and Linux format that, again, I always forget about, because I go, oh, you got Retro Gamer, you've got Wireframe, you've got, Play now, and you've got Edge, obviously. And that's it, off the top of my head. There's no official Nintendo one. I know, sorry if you were going to ask this, but like, you've got this could be the last question, I'm sorry, but like you've got like a whole new breed of magazines. Like in the last couple of years, you've got Chris Wilkins with his growing magazine empire. I don't think he'll mind me saying that, but like last year he got the rights to Crash and Zap back from Future, and they owned those rights. They bought them from Newsfield years ago. So even though he'd been doing the Crash and Zap annuals, now he does these mini bi-monthly A5 little mags, 60 pages. Got a few people from the past writing in him, as well as C64 and Specky fans. You've also got 364 magazine done by Vinny Manoli. I might be pronouncing his surname wrong, but he's been doing this 364 little magazine, again, A5 size, for about 45, 46 issues. You've got things like Ninty Fresh, who launched their first 3 episodes on Kickstarter, and they're doing their issue 4 on Indiegogo at the moment. But they've put out like an A4 magazine, and I would say it's as close as you're going to get to official Nintendo magazine that finished in 2014. You've had
really high quality as well, really glossy cover, and it looks really great.
They put a lot of work into that, because before they've been doing a Vita magazine in the past, but they still do like one called Switch Player, which again, smaller magazine. But it's I've only bought the odd issue of that, because again, I don't know. I tried to get a few recent magazines, but because I buy so many older ones, it just comes down to time and money and space.
You don't get to read. You end up reading the old ones instead of the new ones that you get. Yeah.
Exactly. And obviously, obviously I've got to mention it, but we're doing Amiga Addict, and this started when the editor Jonah messaged me. He goes, "Oh, Paul, you into your magazines? Would you, I listened to the podcast. Would you like to write something?" I went, "Yeah, go on," because like this was just before I turned 41, so this was probably about October last year, and I was like, "Yeah, go on, I'll write something." He goes, "Brilliant." we'll get it in, like second issue, and putting this article together, just talking about like Amiga mags, really.
Yeah.
This was like, hopefully I've got a few years to go, but it was like a bucket list type thing, getting to write for a magazine and have it printed. So I was like, fantastic, did it just before turning 41. So, big deal personally to me. And then when I got this issue 2 through the post, this must have been about February, because by then he goes, yep, like what you've done, do you want to join properly from issue 3? I was like, of course I do. I've got ideas. I built up a lot of contacts. Like I've had an interview with Marcus Dyson in the magazine as well, and asked him more Amiga focused questions that I didn't ask him for the podcast. In the latest issue 5, managed to speak to Barry Leach, the composer of Supercars 2, Lotus 2, Harley Quinn.
Cool. TFX,
Rise of Chase,
Lotus 2 had the best music ever.
Yes. And so got to ask him a few questions. It's mint, and that's just it. So, it's all about those memories. And, I've got like a lot of ideas for that. Because writing for a print magazine, that's probably on average every 5 weeks, roughly. Because we're all doing this in our spare time.
How's it going at Amiga Addict? So I hope it's selling well and everything. Obviously, there's more issues that come out.
People are still learning about it. I mean, with this latest one, we've got our first. It's a downloadable cover disc, so it's like an ADF file that you download. You can then, if you want, put it onto a 3.5-inch floppy. We even got disc labels for the demo, which are included with the magazine, this issue. So, like on the cover, I know you can't see this, Trev, but you can. But you've got the space where the disc would be on the cover, because it's a look at UFO Enemy Unknown, a game that I loved on the Amiga. Back in the day.
As well.
And we managed to get a competition prize with the original artist, and he's got like signed artwork from the game that is put up for a competition prize. So, I did like a couple of page review on that, got myself an Amiga sorted, so played that quite a bit. And it's sort of like getting back into that Amiga scene. But the scene itself, it's really, really growing, It's like 56 pages of magazine. We could probably put more in, the amount of games that are coming out. And you've got community input as well with certain articles. There's just loads, honest to God. Like I said, Trev, before when we mentioned the old Amiga formats, and seeing things like Quake on Amiga, like what's all that about? And I'm learning a lot. Speaking to the likes of Ravi and Jonah and, Ian and James and Hannah, like the core team. But also, I enjoy reading the magazine because, I like seeing what people think, because like there's one piece, and he's like writing about getting his Amiga 500, and then having to buy it again recently for like 400 quid, but just the memories it brings back. And it's sort of like what I keep saying is what I want to try and do for my part of the magazine is talk about, work towards past, present, and future, because we can always look back, and obviously the nostalgia side is really, really popular. There's also the present with what's obviously going on within a couple of months, and every single month there's more Amiga games being worked on. There's like, a new shoot 'em up, I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, Nvidia, which is a little bit like R-Type, but we've spoke to the guy behind that. He's working on more stuff as well. There's Turbo Sprint, which is a souped up version of a Super Sprint, again for like the Amiga 1200. So there's like quite a few games coming out, where people obviously invested in it, and I'm going, I can't believe this, because it feels like it's a funny one. Before when we were talking about the Amiga magazine sort of fading away and they're going down that hill and they're wrapping up with just a couple of reviews, we seem to be building up again a little bit. Where there's enough to cover.
Yeah, those like late 90s, like 98, 99, going to 2000. I mean, there was the absolute dregs of games, a dearth of games coming out. It was basically Amos games they were reviewing at one point. And I think like the last real year of solid commercial support for the Amiga, I mean, 96 there was a dribble, but I think 95 probably was.
Yeah, so, definitely say that with Worms. And like Worms was like your last massive commercial release.
Yeah, and then just re-releases of Sensible World of Soccer basically after that with the new seasons. But
exactly.
Now the amount of games coming out is like back in the early 90s levels.
Yeah, it's good to see. It really is. And I think some of it is because, again, you've got people who are like our age, and this goes to making the magazines as well. We've all come from this sort of like, come through these years growing up, either playing these games, being influenced by them, being influenced by reading the magazines, buying the magazines. So like, using Ninty Fresh as an example, they've gone, right, there's no Nintendo magazine. How is that a thing? No Nintendo magazine. So we'll make our own. And they've done it. They've managed it.
Yeah.
Again, like with the Amiga Addict, you've got things like Amiga Future over in Germany, which has got like a big readership over here as well. But we are trying to do, different things. And a few readers have said this as well, it's got that Amiga format vibe because it's got games. It's also got the tech side. We've also had a feature on jungle music where we had, what's it called? DJ Aphrodite, who was part of a rave crew, Urban Shakedown, back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Now, he featured on Amiga format back in 92. So we've got him on for issue 3 a couple of months ago. Ravi did this amazing piece, getting him to talk about, his thoughts on the scene now, and it's crazy. This is almost 30 years on. So I think it's very strong. And like, when we get together, well, not in person yet, but when we get together thinking of like going, what do you reckon of this idea? Some ideas can come together so quickly. And I think that's a sign of a good team as well. It's like, I don't know, everyone just like bounces off each other. And before you know it, then you're going, oh yeah, let's try this. And, do you reckon you can get hold of this person? Yeah, well, I know this person, and it's sort of just, again, like a jigsaw. And then when you're seeing the magazine coming together, which again, it is hard work, but once you get it through the door, and you got readers all around the world as well. Obviously, COVID has had an impact on Post. It really, really has. Brexit's had a knock-on effect with Post as well, because rules changed and everything like that. So, as Jonas said, because the magazine's been featured in Retro Gamer as well a couple of months ago, but he says to launch a magazine during a pandemic is quite ballsy.
To say the least,
it's been not easy going, but it's growing all the time. We're running a competition alongside Antstream, the retro gaming streaming service for a Supercars 2 tournament in middle of June. So it's these steps as the magazine grows, the readership grows. It's like 5 issues in. We're working away to try and get issue 6 off within the next couple of weeks. To the printers. I've said for so long, I keep saying to Jonah, it's like, you think 5 or 6 issues with any magazine, to me, that's a magic number, because then you can see if your readership base is actually building. I'm just, again, talking generally here, but, you have an idea of what you're going to cover, and when I think back to my favorite magazines, there's certain ones that you just stuck with because you went, yep, I like what we're doing here. And then there's some where you just go, nope, it's just not worked at all. Sometimes, you buy issue 1 99p and you don't buy issue 2 because you didn't really like the or you might just get the very odd one. So Stuart, before when you said you always had your must buy every month, you'd sometimes go, well, I fancy something to read or I'm going on holiday. So I'll just buy this, so I've got something. It's £2 or whatever. I'll give it another go. And sometimes, you wait for those redesigns of stuff, it's funny because like when I've been looking through those super actions that I got last night, I just sat outside with a beer, and stuff, just going, this is nice. Pile of old magazines from like 92, 93 next to me. And they went from like 116 pages, but down to 68. But the selling price went down to 99p because Europress had this. They started doing Mega Action 99p, Game Boy Action 99p.
I remember GB Action,
yeah.
That was a great mag, actually.
Yeah, it weren't so bad. And 99p for 68 pages.
It's not for a little kid. That's like easy pocket money, isn't it?
Exactly. And it's just, you look at it though, and I spoke to its ex deputy editor this morning, just sent him a message going, I've just managed to get these, Simon. And he's like going, I had some good times. It was hard at times though, because I said it must have been like when you used to go from 116 pages down to 68. Well, that's 32, 38, 48 pages off the top of me. Almost 50 pages to lose that, because like when I looked through the thicker issues, I was like, this is not a bad magazine here. They've got something, it's like it was edited by Frank O'Connor, who went on to head up the company behind Halo. He's gone on to some decent stuff. But yeah, it's crazy. It really, really is.
Well, if you ever sit there with a pile of Amiga mags, the cat's out the bag now. But I'm featured in issue 114, September 1998. My letter is in the letters section of Amiga format. I was 14 at the time.
Nice.
And I was my letters about. I've mentioned it on the show before. Pretending to be embarrassed about it, but I bloody love it.
Yeah, you keep going on about it.
Exactly.
Every chance you get.
You're jealous. I was moaning about how people are putting Amigas in tower cases, which just makes them look like PCs. And then Nick Veach, the editor, I think, was just like, shut up. That's a really good idea.
I wouldn't mind getting Nick on at some point. I've just seen it here. Like, there's one for sale on eBay. So it's got basically I don't know, like a photo fit type cover.
It's a weird cover.
Eyes.
I'm literally in that.
The watch list. Just because, like I say, it's not just because you're in it, but no, but it's a big deal. Honest to God, it's a big deal. It's seeing your name in print.
It was. I was so excited when I saw it.
Exactly. I remember sending a VHS video into Empire magazine. It was either Empire, Total Film, and we talked about Ben Stiller films. And I said, he's in this cheesy horror film called Highway to Hell. And he went, cheers to Paul Monaghan for sending us this mucky, dirty, old, dusty VHS. He goes, here's some DVDs to say thank you. I was like, oh, great. I was like back in about 2002. But yeah, like, one of the big things this year was being interviewed for Retro Gamer, which for me was a massive deal. Again, talking about magazines, But God, honestly, I was so happy. It's like a dream come true, really.
It seems somehow you've got a reputation for knowing stuff about magazines.
I know.
You've kept it quiet, so I don't know how that happened. But,
it's just right. The thing is, I always say, like, it's not an important thing to know, but it's obviously that passion about it. And again, it's just, I'm a massive fan of, physical media. And like I said, I work at HMV and, like we sell, obviously you still sell quite a lot of DVDs and stuff, but the main selling thing in like our store really, apart from vinyl, is the collector's editions of Blu-rays. So things like from Arrow Films, 88 Films, 101, Indicator and stuff like that, although we don't sell hardly any of those now. But these companies, they put a lot of effort into their work. They put a lot of extras in there, booklets, things like that. Like I bought a special edition of Short Circuit 2, which came with poster, art cards, booklet. Well, I say booklet, like it's more an 80-page book. And we have a lot of regulars that come in and be like, oh, right, Paul, have you seen this? What's coming out by hour? Have you seen what, 88 are bringing out? And we're like, oh, yeah, chatting about it. And, I think like other members of staff must go, bloody hell, not again. Because some days you have like 3 or 4 of these customers coming in, but one's absolutely love because he's just like, oh, yeah, look at this. Oh, God, it's in a slip case. It's nice. Yeah. And it's all about the physical, It really, really is. Like, I want to buy Resi Village when I've got the time, hopefully next month. You're meant to be able to get through it in a couple of days, around 10 to 12 hours, or let's say 12 to 15. So I'm thinking if with a couple of full days, I can buy it and nail it, even if it's going to be on easy, which I'm not going to kid myself, it will be, because I just want to see the story. But then, lad at work, he's got his Xbox, but the digital-only version. And I don't know, I like having things, sat here in front room, I'm looking at my Switch games, a few Blu-rays, like my current watching pile or recent additions and stuff. And, I've said this on another podcast recently, but you can go on to the Switch eShop. You can go on to, PlayStation Store. You can get some bargains. You can get games from a couple of quid. It's just that when it's a new release, if I'm spending 50 quid on something, I'd rather have something I can hold,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And it's the same with the magazines, I'll always try to get the physical product, if it's one that I think I'm going to use for a couple of guests, I'll try and get the physical one. Like perfect example again with that issue of Amiga format you just mentioned. I'll probably pick that up because it's a few issues after the one that I just mentioned before with all the games in. I just want a few like that paced out just up to the end.
You pick up like eras, like a particular like era, and you can see the difference between the eras when you compare the issues. Yeah.
And it's just so important, it really is. I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot more than I thought there were who want full collections of magazines. There's a guy who mates with Darren Brown on Twitter. He's just he just got the last there's a series of magazines. They are actually quite expensive to get, the CVG Guide to Consoles, and there's about 4 or 5 of them, different colors, like one's a red one, blue, yellow. Anyway, so he's just got this last one, and he had the picture, and Damien McFerrin from Nintendo Life commented, so did Jazz Rignall, and a few others, and they're like going, this for that time was the Bible. So before, Stuart, when you mentioned machines, you're going, this is it. If you were there, because I was around that time, probably in year 7, so about 11 or 12. And I remember, you see some of the graphics, you see things like Golden Axe, it's on the Mega Drive, fantastic. You've seen it in the arcades and stuff. Things like Final Fight, being reviewed in the arcade, but then eventually coming to Super Nintendo, even though it wasn't that great a version. But seeing the covers, again, you remember them, and it was just such seriously, I say it all the time, but that 16-bit era for SNES versus Mega Drive, you were bloody spoiled for choice. Every single month, it felt like Christmas because you didn't know what was it going to be in the magazine, and because all the magazines wanted the next big exclusive, like I've spoke to guests and they've said like how important it was to try and get the exclusive cover disc, the exclusive pictures and things like that, and it's just great to see. But again, like I said right at the start, if you were there, this. If you weren't there, it's hard to explain. But then, like, my son, he's going to be 5 next year. But then, like, he knows that I've got magazines and things like that, So, like, he'll be like, not really paying much attention, But I want to keep them because I want to actually go, right, well, here you go. You know, it's like I bought, God, this was late last year, Chris Scullion's, sorry, it sounds like it's just cheap plugs for everyone. But, you know, Chris Scullion's SNES book. And he was like, his reviews of the PAL SNES games. You know, what I say reviews, you know, like a little paragraph and stuff, sometimes a full page. But like I was sat there, sitting in bed with Theo, going, right, we'll read this tonight. You know, this is your bedtime story. So it's just like, right, okay. And what's that game, Daddy? Right, well, that one we played before. You know, it's Uni Rally, the one on the unicycles. And then, oh, what's this one? Oh, it's Yoshi. Yeah, I know we've played that. And yeah, you've got that on your Switch. So some games he'll recognise and stuff.
You'll be like, and Jazz Rignall gave the game 94%.
Yeah, you know, and it's good though. And this is just it because, like I said before, I chucked all my magazines in 1999. They all went to a skip in Walkden, which is just outside of West Autumn, towards Manchester way anyway. But yeah, I skipped them all back in 99 because, again, they were worth nothing. No one was asked about it. eBay didn't exist and stuff. Or if it existed, it didn't really do anything, you know, because even when I started doing eBay in 2001, hardly ever anyone used it, you know. I still remember buying things by check and sending checks off. But anyway, you know, and like I said, you know, when I'm getting things like the early issues of Mean Machine Sega for pence, you know, it's just been, people have gone probably listening to me and the show, but just going, oh, who's this guy talking about magazines every single bloody, you know, episode? Oh yeah, he's right. I do remember Mega. I do remember, you know, Mean Machine Sega. Oh, very good magazines. Onto eBay. Let's start bidding. And you're like, oh, for Christ's sake, what have I done? Create an army of monsters. But you know, I'm not asked, as long as these magazines are being looked after, you know, and it's history, because they are going to get more damaged. They are going to fade away. They're going to get ripped and things like that, you know. And again, someone like Mark from Sega Mags, you know, he's doing a really good job there, because, you know, we speak to people in the magazine group, some people that worked on them, and a couple of people have gone, oh, well, yeah, we were working on this one, then it got cancelled. But I might have some pages knocking about, you know, somewhere. And you're like, that'd be amazing to see, you know, these sort of like unfinished issues, how close they were, you know. And that's, again, why I do the magazine chats on the podcast. You know, it's just that obviously for me, time's been tied up on the Amiga magazine at the moment, you know. It's just, and obviously that, and obviously family life, and then also everything we've had going on, you know, over the last year or so, because I think, you know, it's affected us all in different ways, you know, and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I can't remember what the question was. I think I just
neither can I. It's all right.
I was going to ask one more question, Paul. Now, so I used to have a video game shop down in Croydon, and
oh, nice.
And I remember,
was it the thing you want? Oh God, what was it called? Retro? No,
Play Nation Games.
Yes, yeah,
yes,
yes. There you go. No, sorry, because it got mentioned on Retro Asylum when it was part of that. Because Andy Godoy always used to go in.
Because the guys came down. Andy Godoy.
Andy Godoy,
yeah. They came down and did an episode upstairs.
Yeah.
And there you go.
See, this is it. This is what I love. Right. Again, ages ago, talking about getting different guests on with a family tree of, you know, crisscrossing things. Sorry. Anyway. So no, What
I was going to ask is sort of a bit of a seedy question, like the last one, really. But I remember we had a load of sort of magazines come in, and I think we were terrible for maybe the way we treated them. We, you know, have a big pile of them on the counter, and then, you know, people come in, we had £1 each or something. We never really quite knew what they were. And then I think we realised they're a bit more expensive when someone came in and brought them all in sort of one going, oh, okay, maybe we should have researched those a bit more. But I remember going through one of the, I can't quite remember which magazine it was, but it was around sort of 90, 92, 93, and it had the sort of the adverts. There was like 2 pages of adverts, and there was like pen pals. and there were like people that were putting adverts in here, and you read them now with your 2021 eyes, and they're clearly a paedophile.
Yes,
they're clearly a paedophile. No one call that person.
No, I know. It's just no. It makes me laugh because I've not done it for ages, but I used to just look for the very odd pen pal requests and take a picture and then just tweet it out. I only did it a few times where it's a case of like, because some of them are quite full on, isn't it? It's a case of like, male 17 looking for girl, must be female, must like games. And it's like it's really, really full on. Must look like this, must have this hair color, and must, you're like going, oh my god, this guy is quite full on, and stuff like that. No men must answer, it's a case of Christ, They
were just golden.
Yeah,
comedy.
It's funny though, because again, it's like on the same things as like pen pals. You've got things like wanted Mega CD will trade for one Master System game, and you're just like, good luck, But then sometimes you look at people who are say getting rid of, let's just say an A1200 back then, and go, oh right, I'll get 100 quid for it, and now you're paying like about 300 quid for. For 300 quid for an A1200, something like that. If you want it boxed and everything, especially. And it's just funny, looking back. But then, like we said, the price of magazines has gone up. The price of gaming is just ridiculous now. I mean, you mentioned Play Nation, and like we've got our independent Games and More in Wigan, and he took in a load of magazines about 2 years ago. And I think he honestly was giving like 50p each, but because he knew what to do, he goes, "Oh, go on, Paul, I'll do you a deal. You can have these ones here for £1 each, like a few Games Masters. The edges, I want £3 each, but I'll do you 3 for £5." I'm like, brilliant, So you're looking through.
That's a great deal.
Shitloads of shitloads of early edge, and because at the time. I was like having PlayStation related guests on. It was like, right, well, I need these, and you go away. But then someone traded in a load of the official CD32 magazine, and these were being sold for £1 each. Now they sell for, I say, quite a bit. You can probably get a tenner an issue, and I'm kicking myself. Well, yeah. When you've got like a dozen of them, what I mean?
Yeah.
Definitely. And you just saw this pile, and we're talking like one really big pile, must have been about 100 odd magazines. And then someone else, he came back in and dropped some more off. So I was like, oh, fantastic. And that's what I do. I go on my dinner hour. So I'd get out of a shop, go over there, and come back with some like 1990s games magazines, thinking this is fantastic. It's just like being back at school, going out at dinner and coming back with a games mag. But it's just so strange. I mean, like you said, with things like, we never sold magazines. Like I worked at Game Station back in 04, 05, before retro was big again, and you look at some of the prices then, and you're like, what? I've said before, because if a game didn't scan, you just had to, like, you had an A4 printed price guide in like a little booklet of like these A4 sheets. So it'd be like, okay, if it's say Game Station's well gone anyway, so it's not like I'm insider trading or anything, but so let's say you go, right, here's your SNES games here. So it'd have like Zelda, Link to the Past, it'd have Earthworm Jim, it'd have all your big hitters. But if you got something like Terranigma, and that's not in the book, you just take that in, unbox SNES cart, 50p. Now, the rule was, as long as if you buy it as staff, you've got to pay more than what we gave for it. So if we gave 50p for it, you could buy it for 55p because you've made profit. So yeah, so that's how I got things like Conker's Bad Fur Day for like £1.50. But like again, then I sold on my retro in late 05, start of 06. You know, games that were selling for like 70 quid then were now selling for about 500 now. You know, things like your Final Fight 3, you know, Castlevania Vampire's Kiss, a few hundred and stuff like that. You know, it's crazy. But yeah, it's just, I always think back and just go, well, you know, magazines back then, no one would want them. So like say, Stuart, you know, back what you're looking at, 13, 14, so like 2013, 14, they still weren't with that much. I'd say it's only really been in the last 5 years there's been this magazine boom. I feel like this has been the last thing of retro gaming that sort of really has caught fire. Yeah. Because
not literally, I hope.
But no, and people take the piss and say, "Oh, there you go, there's your, you know, it's like kindling, you know, type thing." It's like, you know, it's dangerous, but you know, they were away in boxes and stuff. Well, not cardboard boxes, but plastic boxes. So,
the wife was like, "Oh, Paul, I just used your Amiga formats to start the barbecue." Well,
I have got it. I will have to move some on eventually, but like I say, I've got ideas, you know, and things I want to cover for like, you know, Amiga Addict. So the Amiga side, it's sometimes like good to look back, like say what's going on at that time, because you go, all right, I need to have a look at this like with eyes 30 years on, you know. I mean, like I said before, you know, the ST was my first machine, so nearly every single article I've wrote is like about getting on for half a dozen articles now. Does mention the ST, you know. It's sort of like
it's
not
funny,
an
actually,
ongoing joke. It's just I'm always gonna have some love for it.
I find the ST format, I've picked up tons of issues of that because they're still pretty cheap. No one gives a crap about ST format.
No, I know.
I've been reading a lot of it because I didn't have an ST at that time. I had an Amiga. But I wasn't like, I hate the ST. I loved all formats that are out there because they all had their own unique thing. And it's in, you know, since I picked up my own Atari ST in like late 2000s, that I've, you know, got into it, and I really love my Atari ST. So for me to go back now and read those issues of Amiga format, it's like being in a mirror universe to the Amiga, and I get a, you know, real enjoyment from reading them because of that. Like all the adverts are the same shops, but they're the Atari ST ads, and the games are the same games, but they're the ST versions. And I mean, that had a good run as well to like 96. God,
yeah. Because I got the second to last issue of that recently, and you have a look at things like ST Action, which had a decent enough run because that was like the magazine I bought monthly when I had my ST, and obviously then that gets absorbed into a magazine, a different one, and then that magazine gets absorbed. And then the last one is ST format, and then that just ends. But, you know, you're thinking that's like 6, it had about 7 years, which is not bad. But you start seeing again with that one, the games are drying up by 93. You know, 93, 94, forget it. You know, it was just like a pamphlet. You know, well, I say a pamphlet, like about 80 pages, which is quite thin, but not as thin as, say, the one Amiga.
Yeah, that got like 20 odd pages.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like a poster
to that at all.
It's with the like ST format as well. Like obviously, you know, I'm very familiar with the Amiga in terms of its library of even like its serious software. We all know what the big word processor was, and coding software and art package. But I didn't know any of that for the ST. So to read the magazines, that's actually helped me to know, oh, if I want a word processor, that's the one you need to get. And there's a deluxe paint version for the ST. I had no idea. And because there's not big, huge ST websites really for you to go and, you know, that everyone goes on. So, so the magazine is weirdly more relevant now because all of that knowledge is stored in these issues of ST format, you know.
It's good though, because they do a lot of user guides and stuff like that. In the latest, you know, issue of the Amiga Mag, I've just done like a 3-page feature on my favorite Amiga magazine cover discs, but on the game side, and then we're gonna have a follow up with the serious side, of actual programs. Cool. So your word processors, your music, makers and things like that. And again, like when I've been looking through and you're going, oh, okay, so it's like a beginner's guide to this, a beginner's guide to that. So, there's something, I know you can watch a YouTube video or whatever, but sometimes it's just good to go, right, well, I've got everything in front of me. I can see a few pictures, and I feel like the format magazines have always done a good job. I know we're going full circle now, and that's why it's important to still have things like Mac format and the Linux format, it's just obviously taking us full circle, really.
The last bastions,
about them, I know. And it's good because you need to know these things. And it's, again, I know I keep saying it, I've said it so much today, but it's so important, And again, anyone who's on Facebook, that Retro Gaming Magazines page is good. And, there's people obviously who want to help out with fellow collectors and stuff.
Yeah.
But like you guys said, it is quite, I'd say it's like expensive in cost at times, but space and weight, gets ridiculous. It really does, because I do need to get to the stage where once I've covered it for the show, a certain magazine, I need to obviously move it on now, because there's no other magazines I want as a full set. So like even with, say, Amiga format, I'm not going to buy 136 issues of that.
No.
Because if I've got every single one of that, on average, call it even 150 pages an issue on average, including the averaging out over the final later issues. It's just ridiculous. It really is, because you're never going to look through them all. So that's why I just cherry pick a few issues.
But get
just
ones that represent each little era or each year, and you're covered kind of on you, really.
And the memories you have, So like before you say, Stuart, with those Mean Machines, memories and things like the t-shirt transfers, those are the issues that you end up buying, because you go, I remember this review, We've talked about it before, but again, like Sonic 2 in issue 1 of Games Master, 60-odd%. I remember that. I remember issue 3 of Games Master, which came with like Street Fighter 2 postcards. And also it has like Brutal League Football on the cover. Issue 4 has Cybernator on the cover. Issue 5 has got Batman Returns of the... Oh, sorry, I've turned into such a boring bastard.
Chaos Engine was issue 2, I think.
Yes,
and issue 1 was like Desert Strike. Really cool, like 2000 AD almost style, like art, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, my specialist subject is Games Master issue covers. It's like,
boring. It's on your CV.
I know. Oh, okay. You look quite nice. Would you like to go for a drink? That's what you took. Well, Games Master covers. I quite like it. Issue 1 he had this. Oh my god. Taxi. Anyway. Sorry. I know.
Turned you into a babe magnet when you can reel off like Games Master magazine facts.
It's a case of, sorry, I don't find it interesting at all. I was actually hoping you could do the CVG ones. Oh
damn.
Anyway, I know. Foiled again. Okay, to the pen pals page. Wanted girl must like Games Master magazine issues 1 to 20 and be able to name them all.
You don't have to do it in a magazine anymore.
I know.
Post that on Facebook or Twitter and see what happens.
Must not underline. Like CVG
must not like other boys.
Yes,
just me.
Yes.
Must really like
all my jokes.
Frontier Elite 2, Sensible Soccer, and Cannon Fodder only. No other games.
Yes, it's always a case of like, must admit Sensible Soccer is better than Kickoff or whatever. I mean, granted, I personally think that one is, but that sort of thing. I must agree that Mega Drive sucks. With SUX. Oh god, seriously, I'm gonna go. All right, I'm gonna go back. Like when I've got some SNES mags out or something in the next couple of days, I'm gonna look for some of those. The pen pal things.
You've got to post them.
I'll post a couple. I'll look for some of them.
Try and get an interview with one of them. Get one maximum power.
Phone them up. Sometimes with the phone numbers on.
Did you ever find a girl into the same things here?
Yes, I did.
She's still in your basement. Okay.
So we're interviewing this guy. He's in prison at the moment, but he put an advert 20 years ago.
How did your relationship go? Anyway, not so good.
Could get a bit weird.
Going a bit dark there. I know.
Get quite dark.
Is there anything we've not covered? Sorry, as we've just decided to delve into computer game specialist things. And,
to be honest, I think we don't want to use it all up because we want to get you on again at some point. So I think we managed to go pretty well today. We've gone well over the hour, which is always a bonus for everybody, and it's been great. No, you're right. You're right. We very rarely stick to the hour, so that's nothing to worry about. But we always say every time we have a guest on, we could go on for hours above what we're doing, but it's been really great reminiscing about magazines. We've had it quite a lot, in recent episodes. We always touch upon a magazine, most episodes, in some point, which really just shows how important they were, for us, our generation, I would say, growing up as gamers. But on that note, so where can we find you, Paul, in terms of the interwebs? Obviously, you're on Amiga Addict writing on that now. But where else?
Yeah, so all right, with Amiga Addict on Twitter, it's at Amiga Magazine for maximum power up, and I will soon get on touch because we've had, like I say, a few things going on. So we should get back out with that Keith Stewart one relatively soon. I'm hoping within the next couple of weeks, fingers crossed. So by the end of May, in an ideal world. But that's at Maximum Power Up, and then also Maximum Power Up on Facebook. And also myself, like PD Mon, so PDMON on Twitter. But like I say, that's just covering God knows all sorts, me moaning about this, that, or the other. But yeah, game stuff will be Maximum Power Up. But yeah, it's just, again, there's usually a few pages that I've wrote for Amiga Addict. So if anyone's into games magazines, you won't be surprised to know that's what I've wrote about quite a lot at the moment. Memories about magazines, did a special on Games X, I said the cover discs, and there's more to come. There's a few magazines and people that I want to interview, to share their memories and stuff, because again, I think I've got that reputation now, luckily. And, people are like, all right, I know you're into your mags. And it's helped, like in the 2 years since we last spoke, like going on the timeline, I'd just done the top 10 games magazines. And then I remember after putting that out, I was absolutely burnt out because it was like interviewing so many guests. So then I think it was again a few months break. And then really got into it. Last year we had people like Danny Wallace on, which was amazing, because he listens to the show, because I've interviewed like ex-colleagues of his. And then people like Dominic Diamond we had on, and it's good because these are the people that, again, they've gone, it's important. You sort of like chronicling, like memories. Again, about the magazines, people, straight from the horse's mouth to speak. Cool. So that's where you can find me. Sorry if you need those links again. About a minute or two back, I started babbling on. Anyway,
no worries.
Obviously, I would love to come on again. I really enjoy it. It's just good just sitting here and chatting for a couple of hours after work, and we could go nuts, couldn't we? We could make a whole another 4 hours, but we'll get you on again, so we'll save it for that.
That's Paul. Check him out. He's got his podcast Maximum Power Up, and please grab yourself a copy of Amiga Addict. You'll see some of his stuff in there as well. Stu, where can you find us at the moment?
Consoleshock.net, the website. We're on iTunes, any sort of podcast client. If you search Console Shock, you'll find us on there. Also find us on YouTube. So again, search Console Shock, and Twitter, search Console Shock, and finally Facebook as well. Search Console Shock.
Cool. Cheers, Stu. So that was episode 83. Hopefully everyone's gonna go to bed tonight with a nice old maybe an issue of Amiga format to send them off to sleep. If you've got any Amiga formats lying around, they're worthless, so just sell them to me. I'll give you a couple of quid for them. But yeah, in all seriousness, thank you everybody for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.